WWE Survivor Series 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view was live last night, exclusively on pay-per-view. And as far as what I got to say for this event overall, the show was decent. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't, I would say, a throwaway pay-per-view just because the first half of the show was actually pretty enjoyable. It was just the second half of this pay-per-view that really brought the pay-per-view down, especially, both title matches. The world title matches weren't really special at all. Neither one was that good. And the women's match, you knew that was not going to be good other than Natalya becoming champion. And the tag match was a complete joke from the start. Now, the one thing I think most people were looking forward to this pay-per-view was the main event. What were they going to do with Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton? Was Wade Barrett become champion? Was WWE going to finally do the thing a lot of fans have been wanting them to do for a long time, which was pull the trigger and turn John Cena heel? Unfortunately, that did not happen, which with the Wade Barrett and Orton match, it was a very boring match. It was kind of like the same match you saw at the Bragging Rights pay-per-view, just this time it actually had a decisive winner. That was really the only thing different in this, and obviously John Cena playing a bigger role in this one due to him being special guest referee. Now, I knew WWE wouldn't go the route of turning John Cena heel, but that would have been something like a great moment on this pay-per-view if they would have done that, because the whole John Cena's fired, this is the role they're going with right now with the storyline. How long are they actually to keep with it? I wouldn't be surprised they just end it tonight and John Cena is reinstated by the anonymous GM. Or is WWE going to actually try to milk this for what it's worth and have him off of TV for a little bit and then maybe not have him return maybe up until the Royal Rumble? That's possibly something they might do, but I just do not see WWE having him off of TV for too long, though. I'll be actually surprised if he's not back on TV by the time of the TLC pay-per-view, which is on December 19th. I'm pretty sure he'll be back before that pay-per-view, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do with it on tonight's Monday Night Raw, which you're kind of interested to see where it's going, but I think more people would be more interested and more hyped for Raw if they would have gone something, doing something original, having John Cena finally turn heel. More fans would be talking about that, I think, and this pay-per-view being one of WWE's Big Four pay-per-view, it just did not have the feeling. Now, it wasn't a terrible show, like I said. I would just put this in a category of like an average pay-per-view from WWE. You had some good stuff in here, especially the first half of the show. Now, the first match on this pay-per-view was Ted DiBiase versus Daniel Bryan for the United States Heavyweight Championship. And this was a good way to start the pay-per-view. Good back-and-forth action. Enjoyed it. For the time they were given, they pretty much did all they could. I wish it would have been given a little more time than what it was. It was only given probably about 9 or 10 minutes. I kind of wish maybe it would have got another 5 minutes, but nonetheless, like I said, for the time they were given, they went out there, busted their ass, had a very entertaining match. The crowd was into it, and it was a good way to get the crowd into the show, and it's a good type of match to start the show. And probably, I would say, other than the only other match you could say debatable, which is the match of the night, is the IC title match. But I would probably say this match right here is probably the match of the night, this Daniel Bryan versus Ted DiBiase match. Daniel Bryan retains the championship after Ted DiBiase taps out of the LaBelle Lock, and I would say about a 3.5-star match, maybe 3 1/4-star match. Very entertaining way to start the pay-per-view. Then after the match, Daniel Bryan, he's up at the top of the stage. Looks like they're just going to cut to the back or do some type of promo or just cue to the next match. Then Daniel Bryan gets attacked from behind from The Miz. The Miz attacks him from behind, hits him with the Money in the Bank briefcase to the back. Daniel Bryan falls down and knocks him out. Miz goes in the ring, cuts a promo, pretty much saying that that he's going to cash in the Money in the Bank later on in the evening, which when he said this, I think everyone already knew that since he's saying it and stating that he's going to do it, it's obviously not going to happen. They're just going to save him cashing the Money in the Bank into another time. And the main part of his promo was just, obviously, he keeps on hyping himself up, saying he's awesome and stuff like that. But it was just the typical promo trying to get some cheap heat on himself. They were in Miami, Florida for this pay-per-view Survivor Series, so he took a lot of shots at the Miami Heat, LeBron James, and calling LeBron James a sellout and all that type of stuff within his promo. Pretty decent promo from The Miz, nonetheless, though. And then the next matchup was Sheamus versus John Morrison. And this is a pretty good match. This is a pretty good feud for the mid-card, I would say, right now. John Morrison versus Sheamus. I think it's a good thing to do for good feud for both of them because I think WWE's reasoning for this feud right now is they're trying to somewhat elevate John Morrison, but at the same time keeping Sheamus in the spotlight, and it's exactly doing that. So it's kind of like a good mid-card feud. And this feud with Morrison and Sheamus, I would say, is pretty entertaining for what it is for a mid-card feud. The match on this pay-per-view, these two do mesh very well with each other. Wasn't given too much time, but for the time it was given, they did some good stuff, and it was entertaining for what it was. John Morrison picks up the victory after Sheamus. He goes for the bicycle kick. Morrison moves out the way. Sheamus gets caught up in the ropes. Then Morrison hits the spinning kick from the middle rope to Sheamus. Then hits a knee strike for the win. So John Morrison wins this match in about a 2.5-star match. Very fun match, I would say, for what it was. And for a mid-card feud with these two, I think it's, helping out both of them, keeping Sheamus in the spotlight where he's not completely lost, and they're finally doing something with Morrison, so that's good to see. Then the next matchup was Kaval versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this is probably the second best match on this pay-per-view. This was a very fun match. Much like the U.S. title match, you saw some good back-and-forth action, very fast-paced match. Kaval got in some good offense. Dolph Ziggler did some good stuff in here as well. And the end of the match comes when Dolph Ziggler, he wins this match via using cheap tactics, holding on to Kaval's tights for the win. So Dolph Ziggler retains the Intercontinental Championship. And I would say about a 3 1/4-star match, probably easily the second best match on this pay-per-view. And I'm hoping they continue this feud with Kaval versus Dolph Ziggler and have Kaval chase after the Intercontinental Championship. And at the same time, I kind of hope they continue Ted DiBiase versus Daniel Bryan's feud as well, and maybe continue that for another month or so. Because obviously they were originally going to do CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan, but CM Punk's out with the injury right now, so Ted DiBiase and Daniel Bryan can work well with each other. Dolph Ziggler and Kaval could do some really good stuff. I think this match was very entertaining, but I think they kind of held back a little bit, so I do want to see these two in another match and just have Kaval chase after the title. Keep the title on Dolph Ziggler for right now. Kaval does not need it. It's better for him just to chase it. And at the same time, Dolph Ziggler kind of needs the title on him because when he loses this Intercontinental title, you're either going to have to do one or two things. You're either going to have to push him right to the main event, or you're going to have to completely job him out, which at this point, I don't think it's really time for him to be in the main event and chasing for the world title quite yet. And at the same time, I don't want him to be completely buried. So I think the best thing for him right now is maybe have a very lengthy Intercontinental title reign right here in WWE. Then the next matchup was the Survivor Series 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match with Team Alberto Del Rio, which Alberto Del Rio's team was Alberto Del Rio, Jack Swagger, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, and Tyler Rex versus the other side, which was Rey Mysterio's team, Rey Mysterio, MVP, Big Show, Chris Masters, and Kofi Kingston. And this was a good Survivor Series elimination match. It wasn't great, though, but it had some good stuff in it. The main highlights in this match probably were the stuff you saw between Jack Swagger and Rey Mysterio, and Kofi Kingston got some good stuff, good offense in here as well. And Drew McIntyre did some decent stuff in here as well. And I got to say, Alberto Del Rio, I haven't been completely sold on him, but I got to give him a lot of credit. He does know how to play to the crowd, and he does do a good job playing a heel. So that's one thing he does right there. As far as him in the ring, he's passable in the ring. He's at least decent in the ring, and I haven't really been completely sold on him quite yet. I know a lot of people like him. I haven't really been completely sold on him yet, meaning that I'm not saying he doesn't have potential, but when I mean I haven't been sold on him, I think a lot of people think he's going to be like the future of WWE. I just do not see that. He could be a good mid-card type guy, though. The eliminations go in this match where McIntyre eliminates MVP, which kind of unfortunate. MVP got eliminated first. Doesn't look like WWE's really going to try to do that much with MVP. He was the first one to get eliminated in this match. Then Del Rio, he eliminates Chris Masters. Then he's kind of gloating after this. Big Show gets the ring. Alberto Del Rio doesn't want to deal with Big Show. He looks at his team saying, which one do you want to take the tag? No one's saying it. And then he ends up pretty much tagging in Drew McIntyre, slapping him, getting him in. Big Show throws him in. Del Rio's laughing about this. Then Big Show hits him with a KO punch. And this is This right here takes Alberto Del Rio out of the match. So Alberto Del Rio doesn't get eliminated via pinfall in this match, but this is the way they get him out of this match via the knockout punch from Big Show. They take him to the back after this. Then Big Show eliminates Cody Rhodes. As you see, Big Show eliminated pretty much almost most members on the other team in this match. Kofi Kingston then eliminates Tyler Rex. Swagger eliminates Kofi. Mysterio eliminates Swagger. Like I said, the stuff with Mysterio and Swagger is probably the highlight of this match. Them two work very well with each other. And then it ended with Big Show and Rey Mysterio on one side, with Drew McIntyre the only person left on the other side. And then Big Show and Rey Mysterio end up being the sole survivors after Big Show hits a KO punch on Drew McIntyre. And that's the way that match ends with, like I said, Big Show and Rey Mysterio being the sole survivors in about a 3-star match. It was solid. It was good for what it was. It wasn't great, and it could have been pretty better for. They could have had a better Survivor Series elimination match. For what it was good, and it was a solid match. And that was pretty much the first hour and a half of the pay-per-view, the first half of the pay-per-view for those 4 matches. So you're looking right now, looks pretty good for a pay-per-view. But then it kind of went downhill right after this, which was, after this, you had the Divas match, the handicap match for the Divas Championship with Lay Cool, Michelle McCool, and Layla versus Natalya. The only thing I got to say about this match is Natalya wins the Divas Championship finally, so I'm glad they put the title on her after she puts Michelle McCool in the sharpshooter. Michelle McCool taps out, so Natalya is the new Divas Champion. So that's good right there. Hope they use her the right way. And the other highlight was post-match, Layla and Michelle McCool, Lay Cool, they attack Natalya post-match. You hear Beth Phoenix music plays. Beth Phoenix comes out here, makes a save for Natalya, and Natalya and Beth Phoenix hug, and that's the end of that. So it's great to see Beth Phoenix back in WWE. Would have kind of liked to see maybe if they would have, I guess with her returning, they wanted her to be a face right now, but it would have been great to see her make the save. Then she would have turned on Natalya, leading up to the build-up to a Beth Phoenix versus Natalya match, because that would be great to see in WWE. But with the title on Natalya, hopefully we'll see something a little better than these matches we've been seeing with, you know, either Michelle McCool or Layla defending the Co-Divas Championship. So good to see Natalya winning the championship. That's really the only highlight of that match. Match wasn't much of anything. If I had to rate it, maybe a 1 star, 1.5 stars, and that's mainly due to the fact that Natalya became the Divas Champion. Then the next matchup was Kane versus Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship. I gotta say the build-up for this match was actually pretty well put together, I would say, and it actually made you at least a little interested in the match going into it. But you knew the match quality would not be that good at all. It was very poor, very piss-poor match, I would say. Just could not really get into it at all. It just wasn't much of anything. And the ending of the match was very, very bad to do for a pay-per-view. The ending of the match comes when Edge hits the spear on Kane. Looks like Edge is going to become the new WWE Champion. And then actually his music hits, so it's looking like he's the new WWE Champion. But obviously you can tell what they were going to do right here, which was instead, it looked like, I thought at first they were just going to go with the double pinfall, but apparently they just went with Edge. He went for the pinfall on Kane, but his shoulders were down at the same time, so the match ends in a tie via a draw, and due to that, Kane is still the World Heavyweight Champion. So unfortunately, Kane still has the championship. So, you know, Kane over the years in WWE has busted his ass, so he kind of deserves to have somewhat a good title reign for once in his career, since the only other time he had it was for 24 hours. So, you know, he's done so much in WWE, and he's busted his ass over the years, so he kind of deserves, but they need to get the title off of him because his matches as champion are just not good. His matches with Undertaker weren't good at all. This match with Edge wasn't much of anything at all, and you kind of could say that was due to probably the ending of it, ending in a tie as well. That kind of hurt it as well. If I had, I'll probably rate this maybe like 1 3/4 stars, and that might be a little generous. Then the next matchup was for the Unified Tag Team Championship. This was Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel defending the championships against Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov. Now, this obviously shows how much a joke your tag team division is right now when your number one contenders is Vladimir Kozlov and Santino Marella. Now, I know Santino is very over with the crowd, so I understand why they want to use him, because when someone's over with the crowd and the crowd is into them and loves them, you want to use them, but you know, you can use them for other things. Use them for comedy stuff, not, you know, trying to take on the tag team champions or anything. And thankfully, they didn't have Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov win the championships. I wouldn't be shocked if that would have happened, but thankfully that didn't happen. The Nexus still have the championships. Heath Slater gets the pinfall on Santino in this match via distractions from the Nexus members on the outside. All of them were outside of the ring during this match. And match-wise, I'll probably give it 1.5 stars. Just wasn't much of anything. And it kind of shows how much a joke WWE's tag team division is right now. As critical as I am on TNA, I would at least say that's one of TNA's positives right now is TNA's tag division. WWE, they haven't had really a good tag division in many, many years. It's been probably at least 5 or so years since they actually had a tag division you actually could say is good. The last time they really had a great one was when they had Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and Dudleys. That was the peak of WWE's tag team division. That was several years ago. So they haven't done anything with their tag division. So that's one bad thing WWE has right there is their tag division. They treat it like a complete joke, and I think the tag division should be booked almost as strong as your main eventers, I would say, because tag team wrestling is something I think a lot of fans like, and I'm not just talking about hardcore internet type crowd fans, but I'm talking about fans in general. Tag team wrestling's something fans love, and it used to be one of the things fans loved the most about wrestling, especially back in the 80s and early 90s, and it's been pretty much a joke for the last 10 years as far as mainstream, especially WWE. TNA from time to time is good with their tag team division, especially now, but this just shows how bad their tag division is. Then the next matchup was the main event. This was Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship with special referee John Cena. And this match right here was pretty much the type of match you saw with Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton at bragging rights, but this time around you had a decisive winner. Someone actually won this time, and Randy Orton retains the championship in this match. John Cena pretty much called this match straight down the line. The only thing you could say kind of maybe cost Wade Barrett the match was at the end of the match, Wade Barrett hit the wastelands on Randy Orton, only got a 2 count, and he was arguing with John Cena. John Cena kind of shoved him, then he got hit with the RKO. So that's the way the match ended right there with Randy Orton retaining the championship. Knew they wouldn't go the route of pulling the trigger and turning John Cena heel. And I was kind of hoping they would have done something like that because that would have been something great to see. But I think all of us knew WWE would not do that. And I think WWE is going to keep on trying to milk the, John Cena, Superman, superhero type gimmick for a long time. They're probably not going to turn him heel, I think, probably for another 2-3 years. But it would have been great to turn him heel here. That right there, I think, would have probably, most people probably would have added like maybe a couple more points to this pay-per-view. They would have turned John Cena heel and probably would have looked away from some of the terrible stuff on this pay-per-view, especially the second half of the show. But they just didn't do that, and they didn't do anything original. It was just like, okay, what was the point of this? And then, obviously, they're going to do the storyline of John Cena being fired. I don't know where they're going to go with that, how long he's actually going to be written off of TV. Who knows? They could have him back on TV tonight, or they might just have him written off of TV for a little bit to sell it and make it look like it's legit, then have him return maybe by the time of the Rumble. But I would actually be surprised if he's off of TV that long. So we'll just have to wait and see where this leads on Monday Night Raw tonight and see what they do with the whole John Cena being fired gimmick. Is he just going to be reinstated tonight? Are they going to, is the anonymous GM, or are we going to finally see who the real GM is? And then they're going to, say John Cena is reinstated with WWE. We'll just have to wait and see. But as far as this pay-per-view, like I said, it was an average WWE pay-per-view, just like a lot of WWE pay-per-views this year. I'll give this a 6 out of 10. I wouldn't put it in the category of a terrible or a throwaway pay-per-view or one of the worst pay-per-views of this year, but it just was one of those pay-per-views that had a lot of stuff that overall hurt the quality of the pay-per-view, especially the second half of the show. First half of the show, I would say, was pretty enjoyable. I would say I would recommend people to check out both the U.S. title match, the Intercontinental title match. If you're a fan of the Survivor Series traditional match, the 5-on-5 elimination match, check that out. And even the John Morrison and Sheamus match was good. Other than that, the second half I would pretty much pass, unless you want to see the return of Beth Phoenix and Natalya becoming champion. That was pretty much the highlight of probably the second half of the show, was Natalya becoming Divas champion and Beth Phoenix returning. Other than that, not much at all. Both world title matches were very lackluster, and the tag team match just showed how weak WWE's tag team division is when you got Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov being the #1 contenders and being in a tag team title match on one of your pay-per-views. And yeah, that's it for my WWE Survivor Series 2010 pay-per-view review. Peace. My WWE Survivor Series 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view was live last night exclusively on pay-per-view. And as far as what I got to say for this event overall, the show was decent. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't, I would say, a throwaway pay-per-view just because the first half of the show was actually pretty enjoyable. It was just the second half of this pay-per-view that really brought the pay-per-view down, especially, both title matches. The world title matches weren't really special at all. Neither one was that good. And the women's match, you knew that was not going to be good other than Natalya becoming champion. And the tag match was a complete joke from the start. Now, the one thing I think most people were looking forward to this pay-per-view was the main event. What were they going to do with Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton? Was Wade Barrett become champion? Was WWE going to finally do the thing a lot of fans have been wanting them to do for a long time, which was pulling John Cena heel? But that would have been something like a great moment on this pay-per-view if they would have done that, because the whole John Cena's fired, this is the role they're going with right now with the storyline. How long are they actually to keep with it? I wouldn't be surprised they just end it tonight and John Cena is reinstated by the anonymous GM. Or is WWE going to actually try to milk this for what it's worth and have him off of TV for a little bit and then maybe not have him return, maybe the trigger and turn John Cena heel? Unfortunately, that did not happen, which with the Wade Barrett and Orton match, it was a very boring match. It was kind of like the same match you saw at the Bragging Rights pay-per-view, just this time it actually had a decisive winner. That was really the only thing different in this, and obviously John Cena playing a bigger role in this one due to him being special guest referee. Now, I knew WWE wouldn't go the route of turning up until the Royal Rumble. That's possibly something they might do, but I just do not see WWE having him off of TV for too long, though. I'll be actually surprised if he's not back on TV by the time of the TLC pay-per-view, which is on December 19th. I'm pretty sure he'll be back before that pay-per-view, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do with it on tonight's Monday Night Raw, which you're kind of interested to see where it's going, but I think more people will be more interested in